welcome to Centrex Software. In this video, we're going to be talking about custom fields. And once you have custom fields in Centrex Software, we're also going to be talking a little bit about how you can create intake forms in the software. So when you click on Add a Contact, you can add all the data you need on a new lead in the software, and then also building an external form, so that you can send a customer or a potential customer an email, and in that email there's a link off to a digital form the client can fill out, and all that data comes back into the software. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. If we go ahead and jump into the Contacts tab here, and we have a button here called Custom Fields, we're going to go ahead and click on that. Now, a part of your setup, our team has already created a document for you. They've already created several custom fields for you, and they've already actually probably created an intake form for you as well. However, it's extremely important for you to understand how it operates in the software in case you want to make any edits or changes to those custom fields, add new custom fields, delete custom fields, or make changes to those intake forms or external forms. You can do so without having to call us or call support, and you can always reference this video at a later time. Okay, so if we're in the Contacts tab, we'll do it one more time here, and we click on Custom Fields. You're going to be able to see all the custom fields that are currently in the software out of the box, custom fields that we've built for you as a part of setup. Okay, so one of the things you guys have the ability to do is come in here and see all the different custom fields we've added in the software, and then you can see the answer option type for that custom field. So when you create a custom field in the software, we have answer option types: attachment, checkbox, relationship, day, month, multiple choice, multiple select, paragraph, price, state, text, so on and so forth. Okay, so you have several options as far as the answer option type. You can see the answer option type right here. Anytime you ever want to edit a custom field, what you have the ability to do is come over to this little icon on the far left and click on it. And you can sit here and you can see the name of the custom field. And if it's a multiple choice, which this one is, you've got a yes and no option for this particular custom field. And then you can add other options. So if I click on this option button, I can add more custom field options if I wish to do so. If I want to add a brand new custom field in the software, I'll click on the Contacts tab. I will click on Custom Fields, and I can come in here and I can build a new custom field into the software. So let's say, for example, we do a custom field called Credit Score. So I can type in Credit Score. And the answer option type I want for this particular custom field, I'm going to do multiple choice. You've got multiple choice and multiple select. Multiple choice is only going to allow you to choose one option when you're actually filling out the answer for this question later on, where multiple select allows you to choose multiple options. So for this one, we're going to choose multiple choice. We're going to add a few options here, and we're going to do poor. We're going to do fair. We're going to do good. And we're going to do great. And then we're going to go ahead and get rid of these other options here by clicking on this red circle. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on Save Custom Field. And actually, this is a great example. Please enter a different name for this field. The field you name already entered exists. Okay, so custom score, we can just say etc. for the purpose of training here, and I can click on Save Field. Okay, so now if we scroll to the bottom, or we scroll somewhere in here, you're going to be able to see the Credit Score custom field, and then you guys will be able to look at that custom field and edit that custom field anytime you need to. Okay, now let's say, for example, you've created a custom field in the software, and now you want that custom field to show up on an intake form. Now when I say intake form, if I jump to the Contacts tab and I click on Add a Contact into the software, this is an example of an intake form. Some of you may have multiple intake forms in your software. Some of you may have one. You can create as many as you want. So if I drop this down here, you can see here, there's a business loan internal form. There's a commercial mortgage internal form, and there's a home mortgage internal form. Okay, you can create as many as you'd like. We'll show you how to do that here in just a second. But essentially, you've created that new custom field, and now what you want to do is you want to add that custom field into that intake form. Again, my team is going to have already built an intake form for you and all the custom fields for you in the software by default. So essentially, this is allowing you to create a new intake form or edit the current intake form we built you in the software. Okay, so in order to edit an intake form or create a new intake form, let's go ahead and click on Custom Fields. Let's go ahead and click on Form Builder up here on the top left. Now you're going to have the ability to create a new custom form from scratch, or you're going to have the ability to create and edit a custom form you already have. So like I said, the business loan, the commercial mortgage, the home mortgage. Let's go ahead and click on business loan real quick. And you can see here, this is the current internal intake form in the software that we've labeled called business loan. Okay, you can see here we've got categories of information. So we've got campaign information, contact information, business information, loan information, and broker information. Okay, these are categories. So let me give you another example. If I come to contacts and I click on add a contact into the software, you can see here's those categories. So campaign information, contact information, business information, loan information, and broker information. If I click on each one of these categories, you will see the custom fields on the far right in the software appear. Okay, so let's go back into the contacts tab. Let's click on custom fields. Let's click on form builder, and let's go ahead and edit an existing form called that business loan form. And we created that custom field called credit score, etc., if you remember. Okay, now over here on the far right, if we want to add that field to a form, we're going to come to add fields to form. But we want to know what group we're going to add that form to. The groups we just got done talking about: campaign information, contact information, so on and so forth. If you guys want to add a new group or edit an existing group, you can click on Form Groups. And you can see here on the far left, here's all the form groups we currently have in the software. And you can always add a new form group over here on the far right. And then down here at the bottom, you can click on Save Form Group. Okay, so here's the ones we currently have. So let's go ahead and go back to Forms. Let's edit this existing business loan form. And on the far right-hand side, we've got standard fields. Okay, standard fields are fields we give you out of the box with the software. They are not custom fields. They're standard fields that you get with the software when you join us that are built into the software already. Custom fields, if we scroll down, you'll see a section for custom fields. These are all the fields that our team built in the software for you custom, or that you've built yourself into the software custom. Okay, so let's go ahead and find credit score, etc. Here it is. I'm going to go ahead and highlight it. I'm going to come to field group, and I'm going to choose which area I want this to be, and we're going to go ahead and put this under campaign information, just because I think that's a good place to put it. And then we're going to click on add field. So you'll notice over here on the far left now, we've got this credit score, etc. custom field in the software. Now you have the ability to require to save, require to submit, and required for co-applicant. Totally up to you. Required to save is pretty self-explanatory. If you want to create a new lead in the software, if you don't have this field filled out and you try to click on save lead, it will not save. You have to have this filled out before you click on save. So that's what the required to save button does. Required to submit, this is mainly only for certain industries in our software where you have to have a field required to submit to underwriting. And then if you guys have co-applicants where you need a credit score, etc. field, both for an applicant and a co-applicant, you can click on co-applicant as well. And then if you don't want it displayed in the software to your sales team or your underwriting team or your processing team or your legal team or any team you have on your staff, you can create a field label. So for example, I can say, what is your credit score? Okay, so now I can click on save form, and this will be what shows up to your team in the software and not credit score, etc. So let's go ahead and click on save form. Beautiful. So now if you notice, if I come back to the contacts tab and I click on add a contact into the software, you'll see here under campaign information, if I toggle to business loan, since that's the intake form we edited, you will see what is your credit score. And you'll notice here it's got 2 asterisks right next to it because it's required to save. And then if I drop this down, you'll see poor, fair, good, and great. Okay, now I won't fill this out, and I'll try to click on save and exit. And you can see here it asks me, please fill out all the fields in the software with the asterisks. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and choose one of those fields, click on poor, click on save and exit, and it's asking me if I want to fill out a few more. I would imagine there's a few more here, like borrower first name, that have asterisks. So we won't click on save right now for training purposes, but essentially if you make it required, it has to be filled out in order for you to save. Okay, so that's how we add a custom field into the software and add it into an existing intake form. Now let's go ahead and create an intake form from scratch. Okay, so we're going to jump into custom fields. We've already built out all the custom fields we like in the software. I'm going to click on form builder, and let's go ahead and create a new one called new intake form. We'll go ahead and click on the green circle here to create the new intake form, and you can see here we've got a bit of a blank slate. Okay, so we've got no forms here. Okay, so what I can do over here on the far right, under my standard fields, I can start highlighting all the different fields I want and then put those fields into groups. Okay, so for example, what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to highlight business name. As we scroll down here, I'm going to highlight cell phone. I might want to highlight city, maybe date of birth, maybe email. Let's keep going. I want to do first name. What else do we have here? I'll bet you we've got last name. These are all the standard fields out of the software. We can do middle name if you choose to do so. Okay, let's keep going. Maybe state and maybe social security number. And you know what? I like that for now. You know what? We'll add zip and we'll add work phone. Okay, now I'm going to choose the group I want to add this into. So I've got mortgage information, data request, campaign, contact information. So I like contact information. I'm going to click on this category and I'm going to click on add field. So you can see here now we've got all those fields we've highlighted under the contact information category. Okay, and now what we can do is if we want to stack these up and down a certain way, we can drag and drop each one of these. So for example, I want to see first name at the top. And then I want to see last name. And then you know what? I want to put middle name in between first name and last name. Then I want to do business name. Then I'd like to do city. I'd like to do state. Then I'd like to do zip. Okay, we'll do cell phone and then we'll do work phone. Okay, and then maybe we'll do email after work phone and then we'll do date of birth and then SSN. Social security number, okay? And then again, you can come in here and click on required to save, required to submit, or for co-applicant for each one of these if you wish to do so, and you can give it a field label, okay? So for example, SSN, we can come in here and type in social security number if we wish to do so in the software, okay? And now what we can do is we can also add spacers in between each one of these fields if we wish to do so. So here, let me show you an example. So right now, if I make this an intake form down here on the far right, I'm going to share with everyone, okay? And then I'm going to click on Save Form just for an example purpose here. I'm going to click on the Contacts tab. I'm going to click on Add a Contact into the software, and we should be able to see here, New Intake Form. Here it is. Now, do you notice how all these fields are kind of close together? You've got first name, middle name, last name, business name. They're all kind of, scrunched together. We want to create some spacing in between these for this particular category. So let's go ahead and click on Contacts. Let's jump back into Custom Fields. Let's jump back into Form Builder. Let's edit that existing form we just saved called New Intake Form. And over here on the far right, if we scroll all the way to the bottom, you're going to see something called Spacer. There it is, spacer. And I want to add spacer to the contact information section. Scroll down, find contact, click on add fields. Beautiful. So now we can see a spacer here. So what I want to do is I want to separate first name, last name, and middle name with everything else, but I want to add another spacer. Okay, that's fine. So I'm going to come over here to the far right, scroll all the way to the bottom again, and I'm going to find spacer. We're going to add it to contact information. We're going to click on add field. And here's the spacer again. And I want to separate business name, city, state, and zip with my contact information. So now we've got a spacer here. We've got a spacer here. Let's add one more. I want to separate it one more time. So we're going to come over here again. And we're going to find spacer. And we're going to click on add field. And you can see here we've got another spacer. And we're going to scroll down and we're going to separate the email, work phone, and cell phone from date and birth and SSN. And then we're going to go ahead and click on Save Form. So now, if I jump back into my Contacts tab and I click on Add a Contact into the software and I scroll down to my New Intake Form, you'll see here there's a little more spacing now in between first name, last name, middle name, business name, city, state, zip, cell phone, work phone, email, and date of birth and social security number. Okay, so it's just something I like to do to make it look a little nicer. Okay, all right, let's go back and continue to build out this form. Let's go to the Contacts tab. Let's click on Custom Fields. Let's click on Form Builder, and let's edit this existing new intake form. Okay, now I want to add a few more data points, but I want to add them under a different category. Okay, if you notice, when first name, middle name, and last name, when you use a certain field, it no longer shows up over here on the right-hand side. Okay, so if we look at our standard fields, try to find the field first name, middle name, and last name here. You won't find them. They've already been used. Okay, so you can't use them again once you've used them once in the software. Okay, the only thing you can use over and over again is that spacer we talked about. So we've got a spacer here, we've got a spacer here, we've got a spacer here. If we ever want to get rid of one of these fields, we can always click on one of these red circles and that field will disappear from this intake form. Okay, so now let's go ahead and add a few more fields. And now what I want to do is I want to scroll down to my custom fields. And I want to ask my clients or my staff, do you accept credit cards from your customers? I'm going to choose that one. What's the brokerage fee? I'm going to choose that one. What's the credit score? I'm going to choose that one. Let's see, what else do we have here? We're going to do, have you filed bankruptcy? What's your gross monthly credit card sales? Let's do gross yearly sales. And I want to add that under, let's say, business information. And I'm going to click on add field. So same concept. You'll see now business information is below contact information. Now let's say, just for looks wise, I want all the business information questions to show up above contact information. Okay, not a problem. We can go ahead and click our mouse on business information and we can drag and drop this entire section above contact information. Okay, so you can see here contact information is now below and business information is now above. And again, if you want to add some spacers in here as well, you can do so. You'll notice these fields are custom fields, they're labeled versus your standard fields in the software. Okay, so this is how you essentially build an intake form in the software. You can build it from scratch, and then when you click on Save Form and you jump over to the Contacts tab and you click on Add a Contact into the software, you can see this new intake form right here. And at the moment, we've only got two categories, business information and contact information. And you can see all those fields that you guys built in the software. Okay, so pretty self-explanatory, not too bad. A nice way for you to add any custom field you want in the software and to build an intake form into the software. Okay, now it's important to understand that if you want to pre-populate a document with data, that you have to make sure you remember the custom field name and the short code so you can add it to the document. Okay, so let's say, for example, we jump into custom fields, we jump into form builder, and let's go ahead and edit one more time this new intake form. And that credit score, etc. Field that we created, where is it? Let's go ahead and find it. We may not have added it in the software. If we scroll down, let's take a look. This is a great way to look to see if you've already added it or not. Okay, so now here's credit score, etc. right here. Let's go ahead and add this to business information, add field. Okay, beautiful. So now here's credit score, etc. down here at the bottom. Okay, now this is a custom field we built from scratch and it's called credit score, etc. When you generate a PDF document in our software and you want the answer of this question should show up and pre-populate a PDF document, there's a certain way to do it. Our system and our support team will already have built your documents in the software. Okay, but it's important to know that if you add a custom field and you want it to be a part of your documents, that you have to do it a certain way. Okay, so credit score, etc. We're going to go ahead and memorize how this is spelled. Credit score, credit space score space etc. with the first letter being uppercase. Okay, so let's go ahead now and jump into the Docs tab. And let's say we want to take this test doc down here at the bottom, and we want to make sure that we add the credit score, etc. field onto the document so that when we generate a PDF of this document, it automatically populates that data onto the document. Okay, so let's scroll down to a section of this example here. This is what our Centrex Software proposal looks like. And let's just say, for example, we wanted to add the credit score field right where it says print name. I know that's not a great example, but let's just assume for 2 seconds that's what you want to do. We're going to come here under, and we're going to drop this down, and we're going to do text. And then we're going to drag and drop this gray box here directly onto this document. Okay, and then I want to make it a little longer because it's probably going to be a bit of a longer answer. Okay, and now what I can do is I can double click my mouse in the box, and right here currently it says text. If you want a custom field to pre-populate a document like this or an email template, for example, the short code is open brackets, capital C, capital F for custom field, semicolon, and then the custom field exactly how it's spelled. Okay, so I believe we did credit score etc close bracket, and then we can click on save. Okay, so now this is what it's going to look like. And now if you fill out the credit score etc field in the software, and then you generate a PDF of this document, the system will automatically populate this document with this field right here in the software. Now let's say it's not a custom field. Let's say it's a standard field. I can double click on this, and instead of putting CF, because it's a standard field, let's say for example we want to do first name, it's all capitalized first name. Okay, and then I can click on save, and you can see here first name is all capitalized, spelled correctly, no spaces. That's how you do a standard field shortcode in the software. Okay, so it's just important to understand that if you do want to add a custom field in the software and you do want that new custom field to show up on a document, this is how you would do so. Okay, same concept for an email template. So if I scroll up to the email marketing tab, and let's say for example I want to create new email template, and my blank template, for example, is hi, here's a short code first name, right? Because first name's a standard field, close bracket. And then we want to do your credit score is. Your credit score is. Now that's not going to work at the moment because we don't have any short code here. So we can do your credit score is, and then just like the document, open brackets, capital C, capital F, semicolon, credit score, etc., close bracket. So now when you send this email to a client or you load this email in the software, it'll automatically populate this data on that email template or in the docs tab on that document. If the data is not in the software, this will be blank. It'll just show up blank. Whether it's on a document or in an email template, there'll be no space. There'll be nothing here. It'll just be a space. Okay, so that's how we add a new custom field into the software. We come to the contacts tab, we click on custom fields, we can build our custom fields, and for the intake form, we can click on form builder, and we can either create a new form from scratch, or we can edit a current intake form, and we can make changes to this intake form as we find appropriate. Okay, now let's talk about an external form. Okay, an external form is the same type of form we have here, but we want to send the form to the client so they fill it out themselves, right? There's only so many ways you guys can get data in the software platform. You can be on the phone with the client and type the data in the system manually. So I can come to the contacts tab, I can click on add a contact, and as I'm speaking to the client on the phone, I can come in here and type in their information. Okay, the other way to get data in the software is to upload. On one of the other training videos, we talked about data sources, and we upload a CSV file into the software, and all the data points came into the software that way. The third option is to send the client an external form request. So if I jump into a client dashboard here and we scroll down a bit, you're going to be able to see a button here that says send external form. It's going to send the client a link. It's going to send the client an email. In that email, there will be a link off to a digital application, a digital form that looks very similar to the add a contact form. So it'll look just like this. It'll ask all the same fields, but now the client's filling it out versus you guys filling it out on your computer or on your phone. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at that. Let's jump into the contacts tab. Let's jump into custom fields. Let's jump into form builder. Let's go ahead and edit that new intake form we just got done creating. And you'll notice over here on the far right, there's a few options, okay? So before we talk about external form real quick, let's talk about these options, okay? By default, every form you create already will say intake form because essentially that's what it is. If you want it to be the default intake form for the entire company, you can choose default. We've got external form. Customer portal. In the customer portal, there's something called a user profile. If you check this box, this form will be their user profile. So when your clients log into their customer portal and they click on profile, all these data points will be here. So what a lot of our clients do is they create an intake form just for their internal staff. They create an external form, which is similar to the intake form, and they create a whole different intake form. And all they do is click the button customer portal because only the data points they want to see will show up in that customer portal. Okay, and then you've got an event dismissal form. We'll talk about that in a later training when it comes to events. What file type is this intake form for? Most of you are going to choose the file type that is relative to your industry. You can choose assign to. So anytime an intake form is filled out, it's automatically assigned to someone. What do you want the stage and status to be when you create this new intake form? So for example, if it's a new intake form, it's a brand new lead, maybe you want it to be warm lead or hot lead or so on and so forth. This is a default intake form for what company? So if this is your company, you can choose your company, or if you guys have brokers or ISOs or affiliates or law firms out there, you've granted access to the software, maybe you've got a specific intake form just for them, and you can choose the default intake form for that particular company. You can choose an intake form for a role. So for example, if you have underwriters department, a processing department, a sales department, a legal department, an accounting department, you can create different forms just for those departments. And then of course, who do you want to share this form with? Okay, you can share it with teams or you can share it with users. Okay, so those are some settings. Now, let's jump back into the external form here. Okay, so what we're going to do is we've got this box here called external form. We're going to click on it, and then we're going to click on save form. And then if you guys notice, the external form words here, they're a link. So the words external form, none of these other words are links. I can't click on them, but this one here is a link. I'm going to go ahead and click on it. And this is what we call our intake external form settings. Okay, so if you're going to send a client an external form, how is everything displaying on that external form? Okay, so display title, we can say new application. You can say whatever you'd like. Subheader, I always like to say, please fill out data points below. What's the disclaimer? So you can always add a bit of a disclaimer for this external form so that when the clients fill it out and press submit, there's maybe a bit of a disclaimer. I always say something along the lines of, by filling out this data and clicking submit, you agree to our terms and conditions, okay? So by filling out the data points, you agree to our terms and conditions. Okay, email subject, we can do new application again if you'd like. It might not be a terrible idea to put your business name there as well, so I'll go ahead and put mine. What's in the email body? Whatever you want to put in the email body. Again, I say something more along the lines of, please see the link below, click on it, and fill out the form. Okay, so please see link below for your application. Okay, again, you can say whatever you'd like. Where do you want the from address to come to? I always do like an info at email address. You guys can have it come from any email address you'd like. And then what's the link label? The default is click here to complete the form. So I always leave this blank because I think this is sufficient enough. If you want to have the link label be something else, you can do that. Now, we also can require a signature and we can disregard completed fields. Requiring a signature is not an electronic signature like you think it is. We have an electronic signature platform built in the software. The required signature is essentially releasing the rights of the information from your client to you guys when they click on submit. So you don't have to require a signature if you don't want to. But if you do require a signature, the nice part about it, clients can sign with their mouse on their computer, or if they have an iPhone or an iPad, they can sign with their finger if they're using some sort of touchscreen device. So it's mobile compatible as well. Okay, and then disregard completed fields if you wish to do so. Now over here on the far right, we understand that a lot of you require documents with your applications. So I don't care if you're a call center or a law firm or a lending company, maybe you need documents, okay? So what you can do is you can come in here and say tax returns, for example, document type. There will be an option here for you for tax returns, or we can say legal document. We can say bank statements, for example, and I think we have one here called bank statements, and then we can say voided check, for example. And do we have one in here called voided check? We do at the bottom. And then maybe you want to do one called site inspection. Okay, so we got one called site inspection, and I believe we have one here called site inspection down here at the bottom. And then you can make these documents required. Okay, so when the client receives this external form, before they can press submit, they can sign it if you've got this box checked, but before they press submit, they have to upload documents to that external form. When they upload documents, okay, all those documents will come automatically into the CRM. So you can choose whether or not these documents are required or not required in the software if you wish to do so. So, you know, sometimes it's better to leave them unrequired because then at least you get the data. You may not get the documents. You can always get the documents later, but some people will just give up and they don't like to do it. And at least you get the data if you don't make them required, okay? And then I can click on Save Form. So now this external form is built in the software. So if I come to the Contacts tab and I click on Al's Laundry Service, our example lead, and I come to Send External Form, Send action request. You can see here that I can drop this down and I've got that new intake form here and I can click on send request. Okay, which makes it quite nice in the software to send those external forms to our clients. Okay, so not bad at all. Okay, so we talked about custom fields, we talked about building intake forms, and we talked about building external forms. We wish you guys the best of luck.